Andrew, you tell me when you're live streaming. Did you already start it? Well, good evening, everybody. We might have a few more coming in a little bit late, but we're going to open up service tonight. We got some friends of mine from doing mission work in Japan tonight, the Lindsays, and they're going to be sharing their heart tonight, sharing their mission with our group here tonight. So I'm glad you guys are here this evening. But we're going to open up with prayer, and we got a lot of things to pray for. Many people on the prayer chain this week who have kind of shared their needs and their struggles. One that I do want to continue to remember that's always on our first five is Levita Coley. Just continue to pray for her and her struggles, and also the Pryor family with Brother Perry and Tony and Darlene, just taking care of him, spending time with him, and things like that. And there's many others that we typically need to remember on a weekly basis. But does anybody have any special requests tonight that we want to pray for that's happened this week? I do want to share one. Grace, she hurt her finger really bad. The tip of her finger almost got tore off the fingernail. She hit the wall really hard playing with the kids, and it pulled almost her whole fingernail off. So pray for her. She might have to go see a specialist for her hands. So be praying for Grace. Say again. Carrie's recovery, of course. Kerry Robertson, he had a toe removed as well. So be praying for him. He's in the hospital right now. Still thinking about Friday getting out. Harriet, still thinking about Friday. So getting out of there. Anybody else? Prayer request? No? All right. Continue to pray for our church. It's exciting things happening. Many people getting saved and baptized. We have another baptism scheduled for later in the month. So we have some exciting stuff happening. Kids are getting saved, adults rededicating their lives. So continue to pray for our church as we minister to people in need. So no other prayer requests? All right, let's go to the Lord in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we want to thank you for all that you do. We thank you for your involvement in our lives. We couldn't do anything that we do without you. We couldn't breathe. We couldn't spend time, Lord, doing your work without your strength. And I'm just so thankful, God, for the health that I have and the health of our church and our people and those who are struggling right now with health issues, with physical issues in the hospital, Lord, or struggles not being able to make it to church. We just lift them up in prayer tonight. God, they need your strength, they need your peace and your comfort. And we just ask specifically for Kerry right now as he's sitting in the hospital, Lord, is recovering. We just ask that this foot heals, Lord, quickly, and he can get back to doing everyday life things, Lord. And I just ask that you give him the strength and the comfort to know that you're with him. And we just continue to pray for those who are at home, Lord. And just on my heart right now is Sister Levita and Brother Perry, and we just ask, God, that you just comfort them and let them know that you're the God of all comfort, and you bring peace to them, and there's a church praying for them and loving on them. We just ask that any of those unspoken, Lord, that we have tonight, we ask that you do what only you can do in those circumstances, Lord. And I just pray for the ministry that the Lindsays are involved with in Japan, Lord. I just pray and ask, God, that you give them the ability to continue to do your kingdom work there. God, we know, Lord, that there is a great need for the lost to be reached in these areas, Lord, right here in West Tulsa, but, Lord, overseas in Japan and many other areas. We just pray for our missionaries and those who have felt called into the ministry. We pray that you give them strength and the ability to continue to push forward, Lord, to reach the lost for your kingdom. Lord, be with our church. Thank you for the wonderful salvations and the baptisms, Lord, that we've had. We give you praise and glory for all those, Lord. It's a blessing to be a part of what you're doing in our community and in our church and in our people. We just ask you continue to bring us those blessings and give us strength and give us boldness to continue to move forward and share the gospel with the lost. We ask, God, that you be with our service tonight. Let us just follow your will, and we ask that your Holy Spirit leads. It's in your name I pray. Amen. I'm going to turn it over to Brother David. He's going to introduce them officially, but tonight we're going to be able to hear from my good friends, Courtney and Matthew Lindsay.
Sir. Well, it's good to have a break, and it came at a good time in our Bible study of the 10 Commandments, and we're kind of on the bridge right now of that. And I got a pleasant surprise at the beginning of this week of hearing that former members of the Oak Hills Church in Edmond, where I pastored, we're going to be here. And we're thankful for Matt and Courtney. They've been raised in Free Will Baptist churches. Matt from Ada and Courtney Oaks, Locust Grove area churches, and I got acquainted with them when they come to college. Matt was finishing school. Courtney was in college at Hillsdale, and they came to be a part of our church. She worked in the office for us, Courtney did, and Matt was great help in the computer area and all the software of the church, but also assisted the other Matt with youth ministry there, and he's now the pastor there, Pastor Matt, and we're just especially thankful for him. They are now in Japan, and unique ministry they have there. He's not a pastor, but he is a vital part of one of the church plants there in Japan. He teaches high school, or teaches still school, and we're just thankful for them. I'll let them introduce themselves and talk about their kids and their ministry. We're glad to have them here. Matt, you guys come right ahead.
Sure.
Hello. We're glad to be here and share with you guys about us and about Japan. As Brother David said, we are Courtney and Matt Lindsay. We've been in Japan for 8 years now. This next week or 2 weeks will be 8 years officially. So we just wanted to come in and give you a little backstory of why Japan and why missions, and then tell you what we do in Japan. So while I'm talking, there's going to be a video. It's probably going to repeat quite a bit, but it's just pictures from Japan, all the churches that we help, and just random pictures, so you can enjoy those. There's some from his schooling and his school and stuff. So
I'm stepping back just because of feedback, just so you know.
Okay. As he would say, it gives you something to look at besides just us. So that's Nora, our daughter. We have a daughter and a son. Ethan is 8, and Nora just turned 4. And so Ethan goes to school where Matt teaches. It's a K through 12 school, 12th grade, and he's going to be in 3rd grade. And Nora, there isn't a preschool, so she gets to stay home with me 1 more year, and then she'll start kindergarten next August. So I am well acquainted with the Roger family. I grew up going to church camp with all the boys, and then went to Hillsdale with them, and Amber used to come and stay in my dorm whenever she would come visit Devin, and so, and then of course Lucretia married David, and so then that, and then also Lance was my pastor growing up, so all the Rogers. So whenever we were in high school, we did E-Team. I don't know if you're acquainted with E-Team, but it's through the Free Will Baptist. It's a high school organization, and for just finishing 10th grade through 12th grade, and you can go to Nashville for a week, and then go to a country that you're selected for a mission trip for about 10 days. And so I went on E-Team as a response to answering the call to be a missionary the year before, and Matt went on E-Team in response to obligation. And while he was at E-Team checking the box off of something that his mom said, you should do this, he felt the call to missions. And so we both did it 1 year, the same year, but we didn't know each other, didn't meet each other. And then after E-Team, the next step is College Mission Program, CMP, and that's where we met, is on a mission trip to France in 2009. And so Once we got back from France, we started dating, and we both knew that missions was a calling on our life. And so we was never sure where it was going to be, but we got married in 2011, and then we started leading E-Team. And every summer before we led E-Team, we would pray, wherever you're sending us, if this is the place that you want us to be full time, then make that known to us. And so we led for 5 years on E-Team, and in 2015, we led to Tokyo. And Matt was teaching. He was a teacher in Oklahoma City Public Schools, and I took a really long time to get through college, so I was still going to college. And so we knew that we were going to be a little different. We weren't going to be going as church planters or the pastor, and so we needed a creative way to get onto the field. And when we were in Japan, we were on the train passing by Christian Academy in Japan, and one of the missionaries, Ruth McDonald, was like, they're always looking for good teachers at that school. Their kids had gone to CAJ, or Christian Academy in Japan, and so we were like, oh, good to know. And so when we came back, while we were there, obviously there were other needs that we saw. We saw, the need for Christ. Japan is the second largest unreached people group in the world. And so less than 0.1% are Christians. So to give you kind of a visual of that, whenever groups come to Japan, a big thing that we do is they always take them down to downtown and take them in a skyrise building. And they say, okay, pick any of these skyrise buildings. So think of, what's the big tower in Tulsa? BOK? The what? The Williams Tower, okay? You could even probably make it a little taller. But if you put all of the Christians in that one building that are in Japan, it would fill one of those buildings. And Japan is Tokyo is very large, so you have tons and tons of skyscrapers. So that gives you a little visual of how many Christians there are in Japan. There's not very many. And so we saw that, and then also for me, I worked at Oak Hills. I also worked in the Mother's Day Out program, and children. I always was with kids, and so I saw the need for the missionaries, that when they have Bible study or they have language class or something, there was not, for the younger kids, there wasn't a place for them to go. And so I saw that as a thing that I could do, is help with the kids. And so we came back, and Matt still had a couple years of teaching to help forgive some student loan debt. And so we just were watching the CAJ employee, what they were needing. And in 2016, we saw that they were, 2017, we saw that they were hiring a registrar, which that's what I was doing at the time, was being a registrar at a school. And so we applied and said, okay, well, Matt also would need a job, so if there's, if you have a teacher position, then that would be great too. And so we started a very long interview process. That was in October that I applied for that, and they ended up hiring somebody within the school, like a parent, for the registrar position, but they're like, next year I think we're going to have a teacher position open for you, so hang on. And so in February, we finally ended the interview process, and they were like, we have a teaching position for science, if you would like to take it. So we accepted the position. He accepted the teaching position in February of 2018, and we moved in August of 2018 to Japan. So it was a very fast. The Lord blessed our fundraising efforts and got us there, and so it was very huge blessing to be able to go that quickly. So that's a very fast backstory of how we got to Japan. So I'm going to let him talk a little bit about the school, and then I'll come back and talk about Hope Alive, the church that we help with.
So I have this.
Oh, yeah, you have that.
I think I do. Doesn't sound like it's on. Oh, there it goes. Okay. It's fine. I'm just making sure. So, like Courtney said, we moved in 2018 of August, so 8 years coming up in a couple of weeks that we've been living in Japan. And the story of Ruth McDonald on the train, making that request, because at the time I have a bachelor's degree in biological sciences because I was going to be a biology teacher, or was a biology teacher. And we have talked with the International Mission Board, like, how do we get on the mission field? And he's like, you got to go back to school. It's like, I already have a degree, so what do we do with this? So we're trying to figure all that out, and then having that conversation was a huge blessing of just making that one little, statement of, they always need good teachers. Like, I didn't think teaching would be any type of avenue onto or into another country to do any type of mission work. And so, but it turned out that's what it was. And so I've been teaching there for 8 years. I've been teaching in the high school, freshman level mathematics and sciences. So I haven't actually taught any mathematics before moving to Japan. I'm naturally gifted in mathematics. It's how my brain thinks, which is great, but I'm not trained in it, officially, like by degree. I've taken math classes. I enjoy teaching math, but they're like, you need to teach math. I'm like, are you sure? Like, I've never taught that. I'm more of a biology, life science. If you want to talk about anatomy, physiology, because while I was in Oklahoma City, I helped start the Northwest Classen Health Sciences Academy. And so I was really involved in that and trying to get the kids a little bit more medically prepared for medical school at a high school level. So I was like, that's really where my strong suit's like, we want you to teach geometry. Okay, I can, but we'll see how it kind of goes. But we've been there for 8 years. I've actually fallen in love with geometry. I really enjoy it. But when I moved there, and then when she said a lengthy interview process, I've been fortunate at all the jobs that I've had. You go in for the interview. At the time, Northwest Classen was my longest interview. It was 4 hours long. And at the end of it, they offered me the teaching position. I'm like, yeah, great. So I was expecting that with CAJ, like, we'll have one interview and we'll see how this goes. We had 5 different interviews. I'm like, I've never had so many interviews for a teaching position in my life. Like, what's going on? But of course, we did get it, got the geometry teaching position. But in the interview process, they asked, so how are you going to integrate biblical principles into your mathematics class? I'm like, well, I'm born and raised in public schools. I went to a state university, and I'm currently teaching in a public school, which, yes, we're in Oklahoma, but talking about Jesus in public schools, even though we're in Oklahoma, we're in the Bible Belt, yeah, I get all that, it's still a no-no, right? Unless the kid comes and talks to me about my faith, asks me a question, I can't actually engage with any of my students. So when they asked, how are you going to do that? I was like, 1 + 1 = Jesus? I don't know. I'll have to figure that out. And so one of the things I've been working with is these last few years, I discovered something interesting, something I hadn't, again, I'm not trained in mathematics. I just have a mathematical mind. So I'm able to kind of communicate with the kids in a different level. Courtney does, by the way, hates math, hates science, and hates school. And so, interesting relationship, right? But I use that with my students a lot and tell them, because I teach subjects in which many people do not enjoy. Math and science typically are the 2 subjects, if you put them in a hierarchy, math definitely is one that everyone hates. Science is kind of probably a second or third, maybe in there with English somewhere, I don't know. So I kind of live in this world of people not necessarily liking what I do, but I have a wife who doesn't either, and we've been married now for 15 years. So if we can do it, my students who are with me for a few days and throughout the school year, we can handle it. So I kind of use that as a plug, like, it's okay. You can not like math, and still you and I can get along, it's fine. But I came across a mathematical principle called the Mandelbrot set. And this Mandelbrot set is just a pictorial representation, it's a graph actually, of all these numbers that fit inside of this rule that I think his name's Gregory Mandelbrot. I think Gregory's correct. His last name's Mandelbrot, hence named after him. But he came up with this little algorithm that says this number is in the set, this number is not in the set. And the set is just a collection of numbers. But it wasn't until the 1980s, until modern computers came along, when we were able to actually graph in high resolution what this set looked like pictorially. And I dare you, if you would be willing to, go get on your computer and Google Mandelbrot or the Mandelbrot set and see what images pop up. It's an absolutely beautiful graph. that comes up. It's actually, if you take the human heart symbol and rotate it, it looks kind of like that on the graph. And then it has all these little spikes that come off of it. But what's so great about it is that it's a perfect fractal. And what that means is we have lots of imperfect fractals in reality. Take your stained glass windows. If you actually zoom in on the stained glass window, you actually don't know where you're at in the stained glass window. So you can move it around, you don't know where it is, right? And eventually you'll find the edge, so you'll eventually know where you are. That's why it's an imperfect fractal. But a Mandelbrot set, or the Mandelbrot, is a perfect fractal. So you can zoom in on this particular graph, and you will find baby Mandelbrots. So the original picture, that heart shape, you will find all over it as you zoom in. And you'll zoom in on another and zoom in on another. You'll never know where you are in this graph. And there's, they call them, they have different valleys. So where that heart is, they call it the valley of the elephants, because the spiral that it makes looks like an elephant's marching one after the other with their trunks. You zoom on that, you'll find baby Mandelbrot sets. You'll go to another section of it, and they're like, there's the, they call them the spiral galaxy valley. And you're like, it looks like you have, the Milky Way galaxies all inside this. And what kind of struck me with this idea of the Mandelbrot set is math is actually a very mental understanding of our reality. You can't hold the number 1 in your hand, right? But it still exists. So math exists completely in the mind. And what dawned on me when I was studying this Mandelbrot set, just being a nerd and just studying math for some reason one day, it dawned on me that if math is mental, it only exists in the mind. And this image of the Mandelbrot set, this beautiful artwork, we didn't know it existed, but it existed from the time of creation. Well, where did it come from? Where did it exist at before we discovered it in 1980? Well, it had to always be in the mind of God. And that was my click of like, I'm starting to understand when you ask the question, how are you going to integrate biblical truths into your mathematical class? And so actually there's a video on YouTube that I now watch at the beginning of every year, and sort of a lot of the kids like, I didn't know that was even existed. And so, because they kind of zoom in and have fun with it and play with it. It's really fun. But I use that as the idea of like, since the Mandelbrot existed, and I do believe that it exists in the mind of God. So when I study mathematics, I'm going to study the very mind of God. Then I need you to know who my God is. Now, these students go to Christian Academy in Japan. This is the school that I teach at. And yes, we try to keep an 80% to 20% Christian versus non-Christian parent ratio. So theoretically, most of my kids should be Christian. Should be is the opportune word. Our best guess, so like this past senior class, I'll talk a little bit more about them in a second, but we did ask them in a kind of a interesting, weird kind of hand-raising vote to like who would say that they're a Christian, who would say they're not. And actually about 50% of them were very proud but not ashamed to say, I'm not a Christian. So we can use some of those numbers, and that's happened in the past before. So us teachers, we say about 50% of our students are Christian versus not Christian. And so I tell my students, all right, so if Mandelbrot exists, numbers exist in the mind, and I believe that God created math. He must think mathematically because it exists. It wasn't there before he created the universe, so therefore it must exist in his mind. Then I need you to know who my God is. I need you to know who my Jesus is. So Bible Legacy out of Dallas, Texas, created a little book called Life of Christ. It is the 4 Gospels in chronological order, and it's taken their easy read version, taken the Bible and put it in the 3rd grade reading level. It's in chronological order, so basically every day before we start our lesson, I take anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes, and we do basically a devotion. We read from the birth of Christ all the way to his ascension. Now, I'll be honest, I haven't made it to his ascension yet because I tend to talk too much about Jesus, and so we slow down a little bit in there to make those connections of the chronological, because when you actually take the 4 Gospels and you read them chronologically, you actually find a lot of connections in the stories that amazing the kids have been raised with. Like, when did Jesus say, like the John 3:16 passage that everyone loves and everyone has memorized? That's a conversation with Nicodemus that's supposed to be done in the dark of night with an intellect, right? Not understanding what Jesus was communicating. And so, we tend to talk a lot about Nicodemus because I relate a lot with Nicodemus, being a teacher, having, intellect, and like struggling with, well, how do you be simple-minded like a child, to accept faith in Christ as a child? So I relate a lot with Nicodemus. But that was my entry point into understanding how to interject biblical principles into my mathematics class. Every January, since I started teaching about 15 years ago, I chose to evaluate my classes with my students because I've already graduated high school. I don't need to know, I don't need to teach to me. I've already learned the material. So I asked my students, what can I do better? What do you like? All those kind of typical questions. And many of them like, I don't like homework. Can we get rid of homework? You have those typical, high school questions. Let's try to get out of everything possible. But this year, it was kind of surprising. This year, my freshmen actually asked, can you please spend more time in our devotions? I'm like, wow, this is the first time. Again, 8 years. I've only been doing this for about 2 or 3 years now. So I don't have a lot of data to say like it's a growing trend, but it's interesting that in the 3 years that I have done it, this is the first class that says, please, let's do more. We're really enjoying that. We really want to see how this is all connecting. And so that was really surprising this year with me. Actually, it's a fun fact for you. One of my freshmen this year, I didn't know this, but she had been coming to our Hope Alive youth group. And just before we came in the end of May, she actually was baptized. So that was really exciting. So we got to connect at a little bit different level in the classroom there at the end of our school year. So I teach mathematics, I teach science. For the last 3 years, I've also been the freshman principal. I've also in charge of it's called the Senior Council Advisor. Basically, I'm in charge of all the senior activities during their senior year. And one of the biggest things they do is that we actually send all of our seniors to Thailand on a mission trip, right? Because the CAJ's vision is to equip all of our students to serve Japan and the world for Christ. And so because we live in Japan, we get a lot of training them on how to serve Japan, but even though they're international students, they don't always really think of themselves as seeing the world. And so we actually, for the last 20 years, have been going to the northern part of Thailand, working with an organization up there that builds nurseries, bathrooms, classrooms, cafeterias for the Thai public school system because of how they finance things. There's children around the area that are not considered Thai citizens, and therefore the Thai government will not give money to pay for their education. So if a headmaster of a school says, yes, I'll teach your child and I don't get money from it, they have to take money from a Thai student essentially to pay for that student's education. And so this organization found a need that if they can help build facilities, they can help educate more Thai kids with the money that they have, take the physical side of it off. So we've been partnering with them for about 20 years. They've also, with this organization, again, the reason why we partner with this organization is because they've also built a special needs school. Because in the Thai culture, special needs children, because they're heavy Buddhist, they are believed to be basically a curse sent by the gods or ancestors on because someone in their past has done something bad, some sin, and so they actually built a special needs school, which CAJ has actually helped build to help educate kids, and so the parents can actually go work and provide for their families that way. So it's been phenomenal. Actually, some of those kids we found out this year have actually been able to assimilate back into the public school system because of the school and their training that they have with the other public schools, saying that those kids can come and study with the rest of the kids. So it's been a phenomenal process. But in that trip, I'm in charge of it. For the last 4 years, I've taken on the responsibility of organizing roughly 60 to 65 people to fly to Thailand and experience another culture, but really this idea of what does it mean to serve other people. And in this process, what we try to do is we allow our seniors to have, every night we require them to have some type of spiritual time. We'll call it devotions, worship with some devotions. They call it check the box, right? Because the teachers told them to. Many of our students, because again, about 50% of them are not Christian, is based on our estimates or by our calculations, they don't really know what it means to even lead a devotion. They only see what we do on, the chapel days, and like all right, they got some guy up there talking, and they'll have the kids doing some music. So we'll try to replicate that. But again, what they see is old people. No offense, but they see old people because I'm one of those old people now. That's what my kids tell me all the time. You're an old person. I'm like, oh, okay, that's good to know. But all they see is adults up there, and so when they get to Thailand, they're like, all right, so you kids, like, who's speaking? And they're like, you are. No. This is supposed to be a student-driven thing, so who is? And for the last couple of years, it just didn't work. It just wasn't meeting the bar of having a spiritual connection with our Almighty. And so this past year, I said, you know what, I'm just taking over. I'm just going to steamroll the whole thing, and we're going to change some things up. And so our nightly devotions, I still let the kids choose their songs and play their songs, but I chose to do a particular devotion idea. I don't really know what it's called, but I actually got it from our church plant. So when we started with Hope Alive, it's probably some of yours, I apologize. But when we moved 8 years ago, Hope Alive, Tokorozawa, where we started, wasn't an actual church at the time. It was a Bible study with Heath and Joni Hubbard. And so we got to see the last 6 months of the Bible study into the transition of an actual church. And so in that Bible study, they would ask the people 3 questions. After they would read the scripture, they'd ask 3 questions. What does this passage tell us about God? What does it tell us about man? And if it is true, how should it change your life? 3 simple questions. I was like, I'm going to take the same idea. I'm going to put it to these seniors. And what better passage to start with when we talk about service is John 13. Jesus washing the disciples' feet. So we hit it hard at the very beginning. Let's talk about it. Because in the Japanese culture, they have the hierarchy. The teacher, teaches the student, and you honor the teacher. It's reverent. They call it the senpai culture. And the teachers are exalted, and they're put on the pedestal. They're kind of miniature gods, if you would, right? And then to read the scripture where Jesus humbles himself to wash his disciples' feet, we had an hour-long conversation about those 3 questions. My intention was to have almost kind of the checkbox mentality again, but just trying to try something new. 10 minutes. Like the teachers were trying to plan out things. I'm like, all right, 10 minutes here, this will be great. Right? If we can get 10 minutes out of them, already talking about these questions will be awesome. Every night was over an hour long, answering those 3 questions. Why, I don't know. I don't know if it was particular about this senior class, because they're not overly spiritual, but they really had some phenomenal questions. One of them that I remember is one of our leaders, our student leaders, is like, I really struggle with this passage. I'm not a Christian. And my culture says that if a teacher comes and washes my feet, I should lose respect for them and not trust them anymore. And here's your God doing the same thing. Like, I'm struggling with this. And so we really had a lot of deep conversations around like what it truly meant to be humble, what it truly meant to be a servant, to show the love that Christ had for his people. So it was a phenomenal trip just because the kids were willing to ask questions. And it was just something simple. Like, I honestly was like, 10 minutes, we'll spend time, check the box. But the Lord had other plans. So it's been a phenomenal year this past year, but just with CAJ in general. CAJ as a school has been around for about 75 years. It started to be a service to missionary families, to have a Western education system, because the Japanese school system is from April to March is their school year. It's almost an all-year kind of continuous year. And so it's our missionaries kind of going back and forth with the furlough process, 4 years on the field, 1 year here. A lot of students were being left behind because trying to transition between 2 different styles of education. And so several mission agencies at the time got together and said, we want to start a church. And the land that we're actually on was completely donated to the school. To the school, yeah. So they started actually downtown and then moved out to where we are now in the city of Higashikurume. So it's a little bit of what I do. I'm also a robotics coach. We compete pretty aggressively. I've had the privilege of leading them to the World Championship tournament that's hosted here in the U.S. It would have been 8 years, but we'd missed it this year. But for the past 7 years prior to that, we went to the World Tournament, been down in Dallas, competing and representing Japan and CAJ in this robotics competition. It's been a joy there. one of my favorite stories to tell. I'm sorry, I'm adding to my list. I apologize to a lot of people, like, I'm sorry I'm talking too long, but it's my life. I love talking about Jesus, and so I tend to gab. I apologize. But one of my favorite stories about the robotics team is a couple of years ago, we're in Dallas, and it actually happens that we're actually in Dallas on a Sunday. And I said, how cool would it be if I can get my kids to a church and let us see how an American church worships. And so luckily I have some family that live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and I was like, hey, we're here. Can we come to your church? Can I have an address? Can we see what's going? And they're like, yeah, sure. So we all show up, and they just had really started a practice of doing communion after every service, every Sunday, like a month prior to us showing up, and they hadn't forewarned me. So we're having a normal worship service, and at the end, the pastor starts doing communion. I'm like, oh no. I did not preface, again, because most of my students, especially the robotics team, I know several of them are Buddhist. They're not Christian. And I'm like, oh no, I didn't forewarn them. I didn't okay, how do I kind of negotiate this or maneuver this into the right position? So I just quietly told them, like, hey, you don't have to participate. It's okay. This is a Christian thing to do. Ironically, all of them didn't really, I guess I didn't do a good enough job because all of them did it anyway. But it was an interesting conversation afterwards, like, what is communion? Why did y'all do that? But it was a phenomenal time just kind of see the robotics kids, again, building robots, coding robots, then to connect to Jesus was a really cool time to see. Am I missing anything? No, okay. I want to turn it back over to Courtney to let her talk about the church.
Okay, so Hope Alive started in 2019, January of 2019. And like he said, prior to that, they, I'm going to say names of cities, and I know that you're not going to know where that is, and that is totally fine. I will give you this little bit of context. So Tokyo, if you don't know, because we didn't when we went, whenever we went, we thought we were at Tokyo. That's like, downtown Tulsa, okay? Tokyo is actually like Oklahoma. It's the state or the prefecture. And so Tokyo is the prefecture, and then right next to it, think Kansas, is Saitama, okay? So our church is right on the border of Kansas and Oklahoma, okay? So it's a city called Tokorozawa. And so around the Tokorozawa area, they were having small Bible studies, like Matt mentioned. And then in January of 2019, they started and launched the Hope Alive Church. And so we, as he said, we got to be a part of those Bible studies for the last couple of months and getting to start that church. And so we came to Japan as lay people. We wanted to do what we did in America there. So we came in to set chairs up or work in the nursery or all the background stuff, work in the tech booth, those types of things. And so that's what we have done for the past 8 years for the Tokorozawa Church. And so, as he mentioned, Heath Hubbard is the pastor there. And so we've done that for the last 8 years. In March, they launched Hope Alive Network, and for years have been planning to have another Hope Alive church plant somewhere in the Tokyo area. Because, like I said, it's downtown Tokyo area, I should say. It takes from like Ikebukuro, which is even on the outskirts of downtown Tokyo, it takes about 30 minutes if you get on the fancy fast train to get to where the church is. And so they wanted to plant a church more in the heart of downtown. And so they launched Hope Alive Network in March, and from that, they launched Hope Alive Ikebukuro, which is that city I just mentioned, another church plant. And so Emily and Osam Sakamoto, he is a Japanese pastor. He came to Hope Alive Tokorozawa and was translating and sat under Heath and went to Welch and got his degree to be a pastor. And he and Emily are starting and planting this church in Ikebukuro. And so in March, we started reluctantly filling praying about should we go and help with this church plant or should we stay in Tokorozawa. In September, I took over in the toddlers, being the toddler coordinator of making sure we had volunteers and editing curriculum and setting all of that up. And so I was like, well, I'm doing that. Matt, for years, has been in the tech running the sound, making sure there's sound equipment and training people for that. And so we were, okay, do we do this? Do we not do this? And so we just felt like the Lord was like, you need to do this. And so in March, we started pulling double duty. And so because, like I said, I was in charge of the toddlers, and Matt was training people on a new sound system. And so we were like, okay, we're going to go, but we're going to still help at Tokorozawa and in Ikebukuro until we leave for the summer in June. And so that's what we've been doing. And so some Sundays, we both would be at Ikebukuro, or some Sundays he would be at Tokorozawa, and I would go and set the nursery up in Tokorozawa, and then Ethan and I would get on a train and go to Ikebukuro, or he and Ethan would go, and so very crazy several months. And so when we get back, we will be at Ikebukuro. And so we're excited for a little bit slower Sunday. It'll still be a long day, but it'll be great. And so our roles are still not 100% of what we're going to be doing there, because they had in March was, we'll call it the pre-soft launch, was the people who were going to be coming out of Tokorozawa Church to help plant this church. We started having church meeting together, the launch team. And then actually this past Sunday, they had a soft launch. I'm not exactly sure what was different about that, like if they started reaching out to, I know that there's been interns, so I don't know if they, were handing out flyers and wanted to have this to invite people to church. But in September will be the hard launch, the official hard launch. And so so we're not exactly sure what our roles are going to be. I know Matt's already helped with some of the sound stuff. We're not in a same place every week, and so that has its own challenges. And so, but one thing that we will be doing is helping with the youth group, starting a youth group. Like Brother David said, Matt was helping Matt in the youth at Oak Hills, and then once Matt Wheeler took over as pastor, Matt Lindsay became the youth pastor. And so that's one of our desires, is for young people to come to know Christ. And so that's one thing that we're going to be doing there. A couple things, random things that we do at Hope Alive is, do you guys have a fall festival of some sort here? So in 2019, I started doing that with Hope Alive, and so that's something that we've done every year. Again, I don't know what it's going to look like because it's a whole different thing when we get back, but I could see probably doing both, because it's been my baby for so long. But also, I have a ministry of game boards. We are big gamers, love games, and so we started with English party, and that kind of evolved to different things, and it landed on games. And so twice a month, I go and I get to play Uno, and with people. They're mostly older people that come, and but through that, there are a couple of them that meet with Heath and have a Bible study. And so it's really fun whenever they come in, because their Bible study is usually once a month, is on the same day, and they'll come in and they'll start talking about with the others who aren't Christians. None of them are Christians, but the ones that are studying the Bible will start talking about what they've been learning about in the Bible study, which is really awesome. And so that's one thing that we would love for you guys to pray for, is that those conversations continue to happen, and that I will know how much to push that and how much to, not shove it down their throat or try to balance that. And so that's one thing that is really fun. They love Uno. Japanese people are usually not very competitive, so I have to leave my very competitive shoes at home. But it's fun because there's two of them that are sisters. We'll call them the Y sisters, and they will be really competitive with each other. And then there's another lady who comes and she is super competitive. But if you ever played spoons, where you like go around the table and you grab the spoon in the middle, they're like, okay, we play, and then they get to the spoon, somebody grabs a spoon, and it's like two people will reach for the same spoon, and they're like, it's okay, you can take it. It's like, no, you have to grab for it. I grew up in youth group that you were like chasing the spoon across the room and tackling each other to get the spoon. And so it's fun to like see that, and as the years have gone on, they have become more competitive, which is fun for a competitive person to see. So that is, I think, a wrap up of what Hope Alive. I can tell you well, maybe I'll do this. I'll tell you a little bit more of Hope Alive. It's a bilingual. That's really good information to have. So on every Sunday we have both English and Japanese. So the sermon is one person is saying a few sentences in Japanese, and then somebody is translating what that is. And the songs are both. One verse will be in Japanese, one verse will be in English, and then the choruses will switch back and forth between the two. And so when it first started, Heath was preaching and Joni was translating every Sunday. He was preaching in Japanese and she was translating in English, and the Lord has blessed over the years that we've had translators come in, Japanese people that have come in and taken over that, because Japanese is really hard. And so it's really great that the Lord has led people, Osam being one of them, who is now, being the pastor of the Ikebukuro Church. So, a couple things, and then we're going to open for questions if you have questions. 2 ways that you can partner with us. At the end and out on our prayer cards, we have prayer cards and we have Japanese candy, so please stop by and get some of that. As QR codes, like I said, prayer, that's a huge thing, is praying for us. Another prayer request is the Ikebukuro Church, that we can find a facility that we can rent. Right now, we're only renting on Sundays and for a few hours. And so the Tokorozawa Church rents a building that's monthly, and you can be in it as much as you want. And so you can be praying that the Ikebukuro Church will find somewhere. It's harder to find more downtown, a place that's a whole lot more expensive. So be praying that a church or a building will be found that we can rent more permanently. The Hope Alive Tokorozawa Church is trying to buy their building that they're in right now, so you can be praying for the money for that, and that can move along. And then the other way is, of course, financially. If you would like to partner with us, there's a QR code. Would love to talk to you more about that if you'd like to, and we'll be out in the lobby afterwards. So, is that it? Yeah, questions? A whole lot of information we just spit at you guys, so.
Explain what your relationship is with the One Mission Board. You're not like.
Yeah. Okay. So again, like I said, we're a unique missionaries. So we are seconded career missionaries under professional servant status. Educational ministries is our official title with the International Mission Board out of Nashville. And so what that means is being seconded out, which means basically they have given ownership of us essentially to another organization called Resourcing Christian Education International out of Illinois. Their whole ministry is to help U.S. teachers get to international schools, to Christian schools, and help provide Christian teachers for international schools worldwide. And so they're, I guess, if you think of stacked umbrellas, basically, they're the big umbrella. IM's underneath it, and then Oklahoma IM is underneath our national ministries as well, national board as well. So we have a whole long daisy chain of organizations that we're a part of. So does that help answer the question?
Yeah. For mine,
Yeah.
just one more clarity. What's the best way
Mm.
to give to you all's mission status where it's not taken
Yeah.
question.
Yeah. So, great question. Because we have an interesting chain of organizations. The good news is if you even started at the very beginning of that chain and you gave to the I don't remember what they changed it to, the Oklahoma IM Mission Fund, I think is what they called it now, formerly known as the Total Support Program. If you gave to that or the co-op, they would just then forward that money on to the national in Nashville, and then they would just directly forward that on to RCE, and that's the organization that takes their administrative fee out, and then it sends on straight on to us. If you want to, you can bypass that and shortcut it, and you can go straight to RCE, which is also a 501c3 for tax purposes as well. So really, any link in the chain you would prefer to give to, it gets to us.
So I'm just trying to help
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
get, all right, so the other question is, out of co-op, do you get any money?
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know the percentage of the overall co-op, but we're budgeted for, it's been a while since I've looked at the document, around 20,000 a year with
So
co-op.
our-
If the budgets come in
Out of which, out of Oklahoma? or
out of Oklahoma,
national?
out of Oklahoma, yeah. So we
we
don't,
don't get any from
anything from national is just a pass through from Oklahoma. They're just kind of a handoff agency for us.
So our monthly, we get salary from CAJ, which is not enough to live. And then we have support that we've raised.
So
Yeah.
if someone was going to give to you,
Mhm.
if they could give through the church,
Yep.
that's going to
Yep.
go to Oklahoma, but
Yep.
it needs to be earmarked with your name on it?
It'd be the fastest way, like guaranteed. If you want the full
You
amount,
get that
yeah,
money to-
yeah. If you give just the general co-op, then we would just get a percentage of that once it's all collected once a month, and then divvied up amongst all the other missionaries. Yeah.
Sorry for,
No, it's great questions. I'm a teacher. I love questions.
I just,
It's
I'm
confusing.
a pastor. I
Yeah,
know the
you know,
money.
you know how it all
Take
works.
a little here, let's-
Yeah. Yep.
And so one of the quirky things about, because we are different than a typical missionary, we don't have a designated furlough time because he teaches and it's a Western style school, we get the summers off. So we try to come home every summer
Yep.
if the finances allow it. And so, yeah, that's a difference than we are with
Yep.
a typical missionary.
So our summers are really busy, if you can imagine. Trying to catch up with family time and then sharing about the ministry as well. So, but in 8 years, if you may be wondering, no, we don't speak fluent Japanese. I came to CAJ and I saw all these teachers and like, I've been here for 5 years, I've been here for 10 years. I'm like, so do you speak Japanese? I'm like, no. I'm like, oh, I'm not going to be that missionary. So we started a language school and got burnt out really quick, teaching full time and then doing language school and COVID. And so we lost our language school. We can order our food. We can do some stuff with city office, but a casual conversation, not so much. The Japanese language has 4 different alphabets. So it's a little complicated.
Everything has a counter, so
Yeah.
my phone and that bottle have, instead of just saying I have one phone and I have one bottle, you would have, this is one flat square thing,
Yeah.
that's one round thing,
Yeah.
and it would be a different number than one.
And these are 2 different things as well.
Yeah.
Even though they're round, this is taller, this is shorter, so they're different words. Yeah,
And that's
so,
another difference in, with us, because most, like the missionary track is you go on the field for 2 years as an intern, and then you have a crash course of a month of language school, and then you finish your 2 years, come back and get career status, and then fundraise, and then go back for 4 years. More now, it's more like 2 years and 6 months on stateside. But the first 2 years is you go to language school full-time.
Yep.
And that's your job. So you don't have a whole lot that you're doing with the church. Your main focus is language school. When we moved to Japan, We moved on August 8th. On August 9th, we landed because the time difference is really crazy. And so on August 10th, we went to the city hall and set up that, hey, we live here, we want to be residents here. And then on August 11th, Matt started working.
Yep.
And so there's not been that typical where we get to go to a language school for 2 years. So that's another fun fact.
Yep.
And you might think another, oh yeah, you have a question? You do?
You do? Oh, Hong Kong?
Yeah, that's awesome. Oh yeah,
Oh.
that would be a lot of fun.
Oh.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's awesome. A fun fact about, you think when we moved, or when we went in 2015, you think Tokyo, downtown, no cars, walking, taking trains, but we drive most of the places that we go to. We do, now, we will be
Some
taking
trains
the
more
train
often.
more. When we first moved there, we lived about 5 minutes from a train station, and we didn't have a car until March after we moved, and so we did take the train a lot. But now, for the last couple of years, we've been driving most places, but now we'll be back on the train more often to get to the church.
Yeah.
Because we can get to the church by train in about 45 minutes, and to drive is like an hour to hour and a half with the traffic and getting downtown.
Yeah. So she uses the word downtown because, you have a Tulsa downtown, but give you kind of a scale reference of what we mean downtown. So Ikebukuro Station, the station that we're going to be this church is going to be planted at, is the third busiest station in the entire world. The entire state of Oklahoma's population, so going through just about the entire state, so Oklahoma is about 3.5 million. 3.1 million people use this train station on the daily basis, right? So the entire state of Oklahoma basically goes through this church's backyard, right? So when we say downtown, you're like, just give them scale reference of like, it's not talking about like Tulsa or Oklahoma City downtown. Like I grew up in Ada, Oklahoma, or Pontotoc County, really outside of Ada, and my town that I grew up in, which is called Francis, was 443 people, and now I live in a state of 37 million. So little difference of
and
scale
it's funny, people
of talking.
downtown will say where we live is country. It is not country. It is still concrete jungle.
Yep.
We could reach out of our window and maybe 2 arms hit the neighbor's window.
Yeah.
And so we have a very small little patch of dirt that doesn't grow grass because we do have 2 trees.
No, we have 3.
Oh, we have 3 trees.
We have the tree in the front, and then we have 2 in the back in our yard.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
But because of the trees, we have no sunlight, so it's just dirt. So that's fun.
Yeah.
Pull the weeds out of our dirt patch, but
Yeah.
we have dirt. Most people have gravel, or no dirt or gravel at all. So,
Yes.
yeah, we're lucky on that.
We live in the country.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Devin wanted me to mention that if someone wanted to write a check, they can earmark it
Okay.
Lindsay's in Japan,
Okay.
Okay.
and the church would send us straight.
Perfect. Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Well, we really appreciate you guys giving us the evening to come and share with you about Japan and what our life looks like there and has looked like for the last 8 years. And so we really appreciate and getting to see familiar faces. And so we hope in coming years that we'll get to come and new faces will become familiar as well. So.
One of the things on one of those QR codes on our prayer cards is our Facebook group. So if you want to stay in touch with us and kind of keep up with what's going on in our lives, you can join our Facebook group. And Courtney's good about posting little snippets throughout our year of kind of what's going on. And we'll talk about the church and school and the kids and those things if you want to get in that. Or if you want, I can give you my email address and we can communicate that way if you have other questions or just want to know what we're doing in Japan and what it looks like. So, but yeah.
Don't forget the candy and the prayer cards.
Candy, prayer cards, yeah, outside. It's all Japanese. I can help explain some of it. Some of it I have no idea what it is because for whatever reason, gold is best is a flavor of Kit Kat in Japan.
It's caramel.
Oh, caramel.
Caramel.
That would help out. Good.
Yeah.
I didn't see the actual bag. Just see the gold is best. I don't know what that means. So anyway, but there's some Japanese candy out there. But let's pray, shall we? Father God, thank you for today. Thank you for the opportunity to come and fellowship and just enjoy one another's company. And as we just get to talk about you and your glory and your majesty. And so thank you again for all that you've done for us. And thank you for the fact that you are God and we are not. Just ask you to just bless the West Tulsa and just help them be a light in Tulsa and show your love.